The truth of the matter is, robots don't replace jobs. They might change jobs, they will get rid of some lower skilled jobs, but they will create more jobs further up the chain. Most of the companies that automate grow. They're not going to shrink. You will grow.
Welcome to the MTD Podcast. I'm Giovanni Albanese with 25 years experience in engineering and manufacturing and working for MTD CNC. Today we are recording from FANUC UK in Coventry, and we will be discussing how automation is the key to make the UK competitive globally and why we all need to automate. Today I'm joined by an industry leader within the manufacturing industry, Tom Bouchier, Managing Director of FANUC UK. Tom's got over 30 years experience in engineering just at FANUC and an ambassador for automation. We're also joined by the one, the only, Lyndsey Vickers. Her journey started in engineering from school, and in 2014 she worked for a global machine tool manufacturer and now is a host of the Swarf and Chip Show and a key member of the MTD CNC team. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an introduction. Thanks, Gio.
Well, thanks for having us today, Tom.
No problem.
It's a
Welcome.
pleasure to be here in this fantastic facility from your office at FANUC UK. We're a fantastic view over the pond and the MTC manufacturing facility. But firstly, we'd like to ask you a few questions about yourself.
Sure.
Tell us how you got into engineering and why.
I think from a young age, I was always interested in how things worked. I think I got into, I discuss it a lot with people now, and some people get into engineering because, you know, they're really structured and want to understand things. I just wanted to break things and fix them again originally. So I got into it just to understand how things work. So when I left school, I went and done a degree in electrical engineering. And that kind of started me on the path going down through. I mean, I worked for General Motors when I left school for a number of years, and I was part of the design team that brought robots into their facility in General Motors. So it's always been just automation. I kind of fell into robotics, but I was always interested in electrical engineering.
And, you know, for the younger generation, I know, Lyndsey, we've been working closely with education now at MTD CNC. What would you say to the future engineers? Why should they get into engineering and manufacturing, or consider it at the very least?
I think manufacturing and engineering is a fantastic career opportunity now. I think we've always had a strong history of it in this country. I think we've had some great inventors, some great engineers throughout history. I think we need to change the perception of what manufacturing and engineering is. I think a lot of people don't see the positive sides of engineering and manufacturing. I think there is so many different career paths within it. It's such a big field. I think a lot of people just see the dirty and non-positive side. But I mean, you can see from the facility here, that isn't what engineering is. Engineering is a whole raft of things.
I mean, it is at the forefront of engineering. And I mean, even now, you know, it is mostly associated with men in engineering, Lyndsey, but obviously you are a woman in engineering. It's 100% passionate about the industry.
I am, and I meet so many females, and more than we realise. And we do a lot of videos and with the girls, and kind of promote women in engineering, everything like that. But we are privileged enough to go around a lot of machine shops, and to reach all the accreditations now and everything, they are so clean. So, you know, that's where we've got to make and tell people that manufacturing is sexy, and that's what we've got to do going forward. You know, it's about using your brain. It's about being creative. It's about, you know, we're going to talk about automation, and we're going to probably cover this a little bit later, but we don't want people doing the same thing every day. This is what automation is now going to cover. We want people using their brain and being creative, and that's what automation is going to cover and go forward. That's what is going to propel us.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And we're really looking forward to this debate, Tom. So let's get to the nitty gritty, really. So without embracing more automation in the UK across all sectors, regardless of the size of the company or the volumes, can we, in your opinion, remain competitive globally in the UK?
No, we have to automate. There isn't a question. We have to automate. I think I've said it a number of times. The German workers 30% an hour more productive than we are because of automation. We're not a low wage economy. We're going to have to automate. We can't compete against countries and people that are investing in automation when we're not. It's the only way that we're going to be able to do it is to strengthen our manufacturing output. The only way we're going to make more is to automate. It's simple. We have to do it. It's not a question. It has to be done.
I mean, sorry, Lyndsey.
No, I was just going to say, but how do we do that? How do we educate everybody? And, what are FANUC doing to educate people? Because there are going to be people who have reservations. There are going to be people that just think, right, automation is multiple parts, same part. So what's the next stage?
I think we have to educate the complete spectrum of our customers, and that's what we haven't addressed to date. We've addressed the input, the people coming into the industry, the apprentices, everything else. We're starting to upskill those people, but we need to make the owners of the companies, the people that are holding the purse strings, aware of automation and why they have to automate. The return on investment, the cost, all of the information they need on how to make that decision to automate. It is a no-brainer if you work out the lack of productivity. And Britain's productivity figures are pitiful. I mean, we all know that they're not good. So we need to address it. So we need to do it the whole way across the company. We do need to upskill people coming into it. We need to upskill the people in it. We need to retrain older people on how to use automation. And we need to make the decision makers aware of why they have to automate. The quality, output, 24/7, all of the good reasons for doing it. Return on investment can be 12, 18 months. It's not that it's years and years and years. People are still looking at automation as if it's in the millions of pounds. It's not. It depends on the size of automation you want, obviously, but it can be affordable. It can pay back. And if it is that sort of thing, we need to get out of this quick 2 or 3 year CEO cycle that some of the big companies seem to have over here. We need to start looking at the business longer term than a 3 year CEO cycle, 4 year CEO cycle. So we need to start looking at what is best for businesses in 5 or 10 years' time. And unless they start looking at not just the return on investment, but where they need to be in 5, 10 years' time, I don't know how we do it. Other countries seem to look longer term on where they are now and where they are going to be in a period of time, and we need to start doing that.
I mean, you mentioned business owners, CEOs of companies, decision makers, and they don't think twice. I'm going to use an example. They don't think twice about automating a sliding head machine because they've took it for granted now that they need that element of automation for that sliding head machine. Now, they are like money printing machines, and to guess, I don't know the exact figures, but the growth in sliding head technology within the UK has grown significantly over the last 5 to 6 years. These shops are popping up all the time, and they're making a lot of money. Profitability, productivity, running 24/7, 7 days a week, unmanned.
One up.
Why wouldn't they look to automate their milling machine in the same way?
I think, you're right. It's because they're seen it as two separate products, and it's not. It's a product. I think we're trying to do a little bit here as in joining our products together. So most of the injection molding machines we're selling now have a robot attached to them. So people are buying a package. I think people want the ease of buying a package, and that's where certain industries have had that steel on it for years, where it has been fully automated and they just accept that it is. So we need to do it with all of our machines and start making easy bolt-on packages. So it's just you buy in an injection molder with a robot, you're getting the throughput. That's what you're doing, as opposed to buying two machines. I think we need to make it that people see it as a single platform, that it's an easy to use single platform. People see some of these machines as being, a difficult bolt on to a machine they've got, and it's not. Most of the machine tool companies I know now are starting to do a standard robot package. We're dealing a lot with Mazak at the moment, who are putting on an easy to load or easy to fix robot to most of their machines. And all of the machine tool builders are starting to do it. And it's the way forward.
Say if I was an end user with several different machine tools, different makes, different manufacturers, and I wanted to automate, but I was concerned about the interfacing How easy would that be from yourself?
Simple. FANUC robots or FANUC machines can connect with most interfaces. That's not a problem. I think all we need is a few signals from a machine. I mean, it really is very simple on how to interface with most machines.
Now, we're at the headquarters of FANUC UK, but FANUC is a global organisation. Now, can you tell us a little bit about FANUC globally and the manufacturing process of making the robots and the automation behind that, and how really, you practice what you preach?
I mean, FANUC is one of the largest users of robots in the world. We have more robots in our production facility as a single factory than just about anywhere in the world. Most FANUC products are built by fully automated process. We couldn't put the numbers out. I mean, FANUC can make up to 11,000 robots per month. So we need to be fully automated to make that happen. So the key to the way that FANUC build their product is that we design the product to be automated. That's what people need to start doing in a lot of their processes. A lot of parts are still made where it's to suit the handmade way of doing it or the manual method. So you need to build automation in. You need to understand automation as you start. It can be retrofitted into anything. But if you make it that is part of your design process, then it's easy to automate. And it's then easy to keep changing. I mean, the beauty of automation is, and certainly with robots and some of the machine tools, is you can use them for future generations going forward. Bespoke machines you can't. It's for that machine or for that product. And once that product's gone, that's it. So it's the ease of retooling, the ease of e-using that people have to start using. And if you build that into your design process in the first place, then life's simple going forward.
So, Lyndsey, at the back end of last year, we were at the FANUC Open House, which fantastic open house, and it was all about education, kind of breaking down them barriers to entry. You spoke to some of the end users that attended the event, Lyndsey. What did you get from them? What were their concerns? What was holding them back?
To be honest, it was pretty positive because everyone who was here has actually, not everybody, but a lot of the people I spoke to have already started their automation journey. And so they were there to see what the next stage is, what the next level is. I was speaking to somebody who was actually a farmer, a customer who's then, they already use it because it's not just, what I found was it isn't just machine shops that FANUC are working with, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the manpower, but it's the conditions that they're using the robotics in. There was a lot more to it than just labour. That wasn't the only reason people were investing in automation. It was conditions. It was loads of different variables as well that they have to invest and think about using automation in. So generally, when I spoke to people, they were very positive. Or it was major car companies were starting to invest and then they were just on to the next level. So they were very happy.
I mean, we automatically assume, or it's already been embraced heavily with the automotive industry automation, but sometimes there's a misconception that, if you're doing aerospace or lower volume work, that why do I need to automate? What answer would you have to that, guy?
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to ask as well, is there's a stigma almost in the industry when we speak to people. And, we work with a lot of brands out there, and we've just recently been out abroad with another brand who automates as well in a slightly different way. And we've got to overcome this stigma of high volume. It's about variation of products, flexible machining. Yes. And I think that's what we need to get across to the end user, the bosses of these machine shops, to actually go, where you were saying about a milling machine, what's the next step? Where do you begin? This is my work. How can you automate what I do? And also, I think the bosses of these companies are scared, and they are, that they don't want to lose the faith of their staff.
Yeah, no, that's certainly a key issue. And I think that the truth of the matter is that people that automate have been growing in size for years. Yeah. Robots don't replace jobs. They might change jobs. They will certainly get rid of some lower skilled jobs, but they will create more jobs further up the chain. So most of the companies that automate grow. They're not going to shrink. You will grow. I think the skill level certainly needs to change, and that is without doubt the key area of all of this is the skills area. We do need to address that. But I think getting rid of any fear of automation, I think I've said it before, the fear is not to automate. We're going to keep falling further behind if we don't automate. We have to automate. So let's embrace it. Let's make it happen. And I think you're right. There is a lot of drivers for automating. It's not just manpower. You've got more flexibility if you've got a fully automated process than you do with any other process. So it's actually the complete opposite to what people are perceiving. Small batch manufacturing and small companies is where needs automation more. The big companies, the automotive companies, they're fine. They look after themselves. Yeah. JLR know how many robots. They know what they are. They know how to use them. It's the small companies further down their supply chain that need to start automating. They're the ones that need it more, and they're the ones that are not doing it. That's the real shame of it. Are they
scared about spending the money? Is that what it is?
I think there's certainly a degree of uncertainty. I mean, there's been a lot of uncertainty in this country for the last few years. So there is a degree of uncertainty. But I think if we can get as an industry, we've been very poor at getting the message across that you can reuse that for any other product. I mean, these companies have been going for generations, lots of companies. So there will be another product come along after this one, or another, whoever they're supplying further down the chain. So it's easier to retool with automation than it is to do it any other way. So they need it more. And
sorry, Gio, I know you've got some more questions, but what we learned from a recent visit is the fact that people will go, right, okay, I'm going to invest in another machine tool, but are they maximising the machine tool that they have? We learned 8,760 hours within a year that are available for that current machine tool to be working. If we're automating, we're maximising those hours that can be used. And it's just quite interesting when you think about it. Absolutely. That, that automatically think, okay, I'm going to buy another machine, I've got this. But actually, are we maximising the machines that we've currently got?
No, I mean, it's all down to productivity. So, yeah, you need that machine. If you're investing that much in the machine tool, you want it working 24/7. So to actually invest that much in the machine tool to work 10, 12 hours a day seems stupid. It makes no sense. So the way to do it is to have 24/7 manufacturing. Yeah. And that's the only way they're going to survive. And again, it would make the payback on the machine faster as well, not just on the automation to go with it. So the whole payback cycle is quicker.
We need to be flipping, in my opinion, misconception on its head. We need to be celebrating the fact that we're automating from a CEO level, because the CEO is obviously going to be more profitable, create more jobs. Mm-hmm. And from an operator level, who wants to be standing by a machine doing a repetitive tasks for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week on minimum wage? So the fact that automation is coming into the arena, we should be celebrating it. And also in regards to the skills gap, Tom, from the ground roots, colleges, universities, how are you tackling it from there to educate the younger engineers? And so it's actually just part of the complete process rather than an add-on.
Yeah. I mean, FANUC are now sponsoring a World Skills event, and we're doing it with the MTC here in the UK, but FANUC worldwide are now sponsoring a robot integration skill at World Skills. The idea is we're going to send a team, or a couple of teams, hopefully, from the UK and Ireland over to compete in Shanghai in 2021. Or not to compete, to win in Shanghai in 2021.
Positive thinking.
Yeah, we've got to win. So we want to do it. So the idea is we're going to now send out, between us, the MTC and World Skills UK, we're going to send out the software simulation package to as many schools, colleges, everybody else as we've all got on our database. We're going to do an offline robot integration skill to pick down to the number of finalists, maybe 10, 12 finalists. Then we're going to send them a robot cell for a period of time so they can actually physically do it in the school and do or college, university, do the skill. Then they're going to compete in Birmingham at the World Skills UK and hopefully then get picked up to go and represent the UK in Shanghai. We have to get it to all schools. We have to make it shown that it is easy to use. And that, again, it shows there's nothing dirty about sitting on a computer doing a simulation package of a complete robot installation. And people are doing that up and down the country in every workplace. So let's show what engineering is in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but my husband, he's 40, and when he was at school, there was no laptops, there was no computers, no nothing. So, he is always going to be a step back from the later generations on IT because he was not educated from a young age to do it. And it almost seems a bit unfair on him. You know, he's a little bit older than myself, but I had laptops at school. And I think what you're doing now and what you're saying is the fact that there will be an element of a gap. And it's really, you're doing your bit to educate the younger people coming through, but there will be that element of a gap of people in the middle now. And those are the people who are the buyers now, who are going to now need to have their mind turned about the idea of automation.
I think there's two things. We need to adopt the education of this into the early years to get people to use it. But the process now is becoming easier to use. The people that are now creating the software and creating the programs and creating the robots, the older generation, my generation, can use them because it's something that the clever work is going on behind the scenes. So we still need to upskill to be able to use the automation and use all the equipment that's there. But it is now... Most programs now, I mean, my mum's coming up 80 now and she's still quite happy. A few years ago, I got her an iPad and she wouldn't use it. Now she wouldn't be without it. So we can use it, but the clever work is going on at Apple who are doing all the programs behind it. It's not her being able to use it. But we do still need to address all those skills gaps. But we certainly need a more consistent approach in schools. We need to bring it in at a very early age. We need to stop taking it out at secondary school and trying to put it back into universities. If we get primary school kids in here, they come in and they'll just naturally play with all the products. They'll figure out how it works. They'll make it work. My 3-year-old granddaughter knows how, somehow she's found the code to my iPad and she just knows how to use it.
She knows.
But then they start taking you out in secondary school so that they don't want you to innovate. They want you to pass exams. And we got to keep that innovation in because you can't put it back in when you become 18 again. You can't have it up until 11, take it out until 18 and put it back in again. It's not possible. So we need to get a joined up picture the whole way through education.
I think that you've hit the nail on the head really in regards to that fear factor. And I think that there is absolutely nothing to be scared of. I mean, why would you be scared of making more money, not, upskilling your own job and getting paid more as an employee? And from my own experience in engineering, from when I was a student, an apprentice and working in the aerospace industry, we never really used automation. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Gio, 4 years ago, I think when I started at MTD, we weren't talking about automation so much. And literally the past 2 years, and I think everything that we do now, we're talking about automation.
And I've got a brilliant example here for you. One of our clients where we went to do some filming for, he invested in his first robot, and it's a small subcontractor. They don't know what's coming through the door from one day to another. He invested in his first robot to free him up. So he's the owner of the company, but he's also hands-on within the shop floor. They're located in Leicestershire, in a remote location in Leicestershire where it's hard to employ skilled engineers. So he wants to grow his business, but he found it very difficult. He bought his first robot to run a lathe. And due to the success of that first installation, he invested in his second robot 6 months later to run a fifth axis machine for lower volume subcontract work. So again, that leads on to my next question really, Tom. What kind of case studies do you have? Once someone's actually bit the bullet and said, right, I'm going to invest, do you see a trend that from their first investment, it just kind of spirals out of control?
Yeah, always. I think probably 80% of the customers around here are repeat business. Once you've got automation, you're not going to step back from it. I think it's getting that message to customers like him that hadn't had it before on the benefits of it. Once customers see the benefits, then it's a no-brainer. You would have to automate going forward. I think it is just getting that mindset of being able to take that jump. It's just a hard jump to take for some reason. We do seem to be a lot more conservative over here on our approach to automation and to future technologies. I think the big problem I have is that the government have got some very great ideas on having an automation robotics business in the UK in 10, 15 years' time. And it's great. And there is some fantastic startup companies here doing some fantastic work. But if we're not using today's automation, why do we think we'll be able to use the automation in 15 years' time?
I don't understand why they're thinking about that so far ahead.
I know, that's too far.
That just totally...
I think we need both strategies. I think we do need to think of where we need to be. I think, if we're looking at space technology, if we're looking at some of the future technologies on where we get to, we do have to have a slightly longer term. But we still need to address today's manufacturing for sure.
We won't get there if not. We'll lose the business to other places, other countries, other people.
Yeah. No, I think we're going to lose it to other countries that are automating, and that's a real danger. We're still 65 odd million people. We do have to manufacture in this country. And as long as we're still the 5th, 6th largest economy in the world. While that's happening, we need to manufacture, but we forgot about making things in this country.
I think, Gio, you've got a lovely quote, actually. I think you said it to me before the podcast about survival of people and that kind of...
That was one of my facts at the end, but yes, I could go... I was going to bring that up at the end.
Gio.
But effectively, the amount of human labour directly required for the survival of humanity will keep shrinking thanks to automation. And I think, in my opinion... Look, we travel around and we visit companies, and we've been within the industry for many years as well. If people don't invest in the latest technology and keep investing, they won't be competitive at all, and they will actually close down. Mm-hmm. They won't exist anymore. Never mind, competing globally, their own business will kind of crumble. Yeah. And I think that the people, it's so clear when you go out and do your visits, the people... You ask the first question when you go into any business a lot of the time, are you busy? Are you doing well? The people that usually answer, yes, we're busy, we're doing well, we're buying new machines, we're moving into a new facility, are the ones that are investing. It's as simple as that.
You've got to have a longer term strategy, the same as the government really, but you need to be looking at where that business is going to be in 5-10 years' time. You do need to invest and look forward.
And how are people investing? What are there new ways? Is that... is it, do I buy the robot the same way as I buy a machine tool? How does it all work?
I mean, the hard bit about automation is the funding of automation because it's not known. I mean, a lot of people, if they're using finance houses, it's a very traditional model to be able to finance a machine tool. Financing automation is a lot more difficult because people, the lenders of the money don't have an appreciation of what automation is. So it's very difficult to get it. We need to make that case a lot clearer to the finances of how it's doing. So that's something we're trying to put together, and I'm going to encourage some of our other competitors in this market to do the same. We're going to try and do it through the BARA is put the case together for how you can finance automation. It is still a product at the end of the day. It's always going to have a residual value. So how do you do it?
Improvements of cost per part, that kind of thing.
And what you can get out of it. So how can a finance house give somebody X amount of money to do an automation cell? A lot of people want to look at mean time between failures, mean time to repair, all the other information that goes with technology. But unless you can finance it in the first place, that's the difficult bit. There is also models that are coming around the world now on treating automation as a paid employee. So pay per part, pay per well, pay per pick. So that rather than seeing it as just a capital investment, you're seeing it as part of your output. You're seeing it as a worker. And that might be an easier model to finance because then you can say we're going to produce 20,000 parts a week. This robot or this part will be using that, and then you can see per pick. That's happening in other countries. It hasn't really taken off over here yet, but I can see it as being a viable model. So that is probably a way of getting through to there as well.
Treating a robot as an employee, is that dangerous territory? Would the government look to tax the robots?
It has been muted, or it has been mooted rather. I don't think it's a very smart idea. It came originally, the first time I heard that was out of Bill Gates in America, which is definitely a case of poacher turning gamekeeper for him to start taxing technology. And it was mentioned over here. I think Jeremy Corbyn mentioned it a few times. It's not a good idea. I mean, you don't tax your hammer, and a robot is still a tool, the same as everything else. Tax output, tax growth. That's the way to do it. Taxing a robot just makes no sense. It just, why would you? What are you going to do? Tax the electricity that uses it? I don't know. Everything is just a tool. At the end of the day, all automation is a tool. It might be a sophisticated tool. It might be quite a clever tool. It's still a tool.
Let's take things to the next level then. So hopefully, the UK in 2020 will start embracing automation to a different level that it's done maybe in the past. Now, there's lots of new technologies as well as automation, artificial intelligence. I mean, we were at EMO and we had some fantastic, fascinating conversations.
Blew my mind.
How is that going to affect automation, and what is FANUC got in place? What can you tell us about this?
I mean, FANUC's, we have our own tool. We have a field system, which is FANUC Intelligent Edge Link Device for connecting all of the machines together. It's our IoT offering. So FANUC believe that the place to have most of the data gathered is on the shop floor. I mean, everybody seems to want to send data up to the cloud for some reason. It makes no sense. Where you need that data is on the shop floor. It needs to be pragmatic data that you can use. So FANUC have got their own package now, which can link anybody's tools together, anybody's devices together, anybody's other products, whatever you want, and collect all the data. I mean, the big bit now is data collection. That's what everybody needs. But it's collecting the right data and using the data. There's no point collecting terabytes of data and only using 1 gig of it. You know, you need to use what you're collecting and know what you're collecting. So I think a lot of it, we don't want people jumping on the bandwagon and just saying they need this IoT offering and need to collect all the data unless you know what you're doing with it. So we're trying to educate people on what they need, how they need it, the traceability that they need. FANUC are using it more ourselves. We connect all of our machines together in our factory so that we know what's running 24/7, which machines are causing any issues, how to predict failures, because we build the whole product ourselves. We obviously have the full model of what that robot is. So we're able to predict failures. So we're able to now start replacing parts before they may fail or stopping problems before they occur. The idea is to keep that machine running 24/7.
Keep the spindles turning.
Again, fascinating. And I think, again, it really illustrates why young engineers or potential engineers should be getting into this industry. It's a fantastic industry. Lyndsey, any last thoughts?
No. I'm. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you
for joining us. I think it is all about us investing in our futures and embracing what we've got today, and not in what you're saying other people are saying 10, 15, 20 years time. It is about today. And the idea of robots, I remember when we turned the turn of the century, it was like 2020, we'll all be on a spaceship and we'll all be flying high in the sky. And no, we're not there. But robots is that first step, and it is scary, and we did think it was the future, but the future is happening now, and a key to survival is investing in automation.
100%.
Definitely.
Any last thoughts from you, Tom? If people have listened to this podcast and they want to get into automation, but maybe they're just a little bit scared and they just need reassuring, how should they get in touch?
Come and ask us. We're happy to host this facility to allow anybody to come in to see the robots, to see the automation, to see what we've got. I think let us answer your questions. I think we're happy to send people to you. But the easiest place is if you are anywhere near Coventry, come in. We can show you what we've got. We can show you how easy it's to use. We can explain to you why you should invest. We can give you all of the data you need for return on investments, mean time between, all of the information you need to be able to go with that case study to automate.
Now, Tom, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to summarise by quoting yourself. And in the past, you've actually said, sorry, Lyndsey, I just kicked you. You've actually said, can I afford to automate? Can you afford not to? I think the key to this podcast is invest, get your checkbooks out and become more profitable, and, kind of really embrace automation. If you've got any questions from this podcast, we can answer them in the next podcast. So please subscribe to the podcast and let us know your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.